Hey, we're back. It's the Puckleheads. Marcus White, Connell McNeilis. It's been a while. You've been able to read my hockey takes on Twitter and whatnot, but without hearing my grating voice or seeing my ugly face. Same for Connell, I'm assuming. Connell, it's been too long. How you been? What have you been doing
Been a
while we've been in
while. It's been a while, Marcus. It's
we've been in a hibernation during the winter?
That's right. We bulked up and we're like bears, and it's starting to warm up a little bit here. We got to see each other in Vegas, which was fun.
We did.
We experienced the Vegas Golden Knights. I will be honest, that night gets blurrier and blurrier for me the more I try to remember it.
Do you remember the game at least?
Yes, I do. I broke up a fight between Ranger fans and Golden Knights fans. A bunch of Ranger fans who thought they were better than the Golden Knights, and I was trying to convince them you wouldn't be here if it wasn't for them. Let them be great.
Right.
And they're
you would
like,
not have made a trip to Las Vegas.
we're original six. We have won Stanley Cup in the past 75 years. We're great. Fuck you.
Even though the original six is a misnomer and just a marketing scheme.
Just a load of garbage. But it was a lot of fun. I know it's brand new arena, Marcus, but nicest arena I've ever seen a game in.
Yeah.
Granted, it's brand new. I get that. But we had a blast.
It's a very simple arena too. They didn't overdo it with look at all these amenities. It was here's the game. Everybody's got a great view. There's food on the concourse. Do what you'd like. It
pretty much good, easy entrance. The area outside, there was a great little it's right off the strip. So I mean, we had a nice couple drinks beforehand. It was right this nice walkway. It was great. It was a fun. Marcus, I was at the Stanley Cup last year, and I didn't get to go to a game, but it reminded me of Nashville, and that it was almost like a college-esque, party, fun atmosphere. I thought it was great. Go Knights as my Rangers plummet further and further for the tank for Dahlin. All aboard.
Falling for Dahlin
here.
I think all the national writers are hoping for a Nashville-Vegas conference final.
I'm going to all 7 games if that's the case. I'll bankrupt myself to go to those.
It was a great place to watch a game. Surprisingly good team.
Fun.
I believe fun team. That Marchessault line is real. I've seen them now twice in person in the last month or so. I saw the Golden Knights Sharks game a couple weeks ago, which was a very fun game. Don't know if the Sharks are going to make it far enough, but that would be a really fun playoff series. That was just back and forth, trading chances. The Vegas Golden Knights, who have the worst Twitter account in the NHL.
It was fun for 7 days, Marcus.
Yeah, if that.
And now I'm shut the hell up, please.
They tweeted something the other day about William Karlsson not it's unsustainable. Look at all the people who were wrong. I looked it up before he scored that goal, which I believe was his 30th of the season.
He got 30.
Karlsson's shooting percentage is in the top 45 of a single season in NHL history.
When did they start recording shooting percentage? Any idea?
I'm not sure, but the guys ahead of him are Gretzky, Yari Curry, basically everyone who played in the 80s when goaltending, wasn't 80s. A thing. As you and I have discussed multiple times, you retweeted a clip the other day, and I meant to text you, but I didn't. I think it was Rob McClanahan scoring, and my first thought was,
"Did you see the goalie? He just I'm gonna stand up. He literally goes like this, and then McClanahan's right there, and instead of just being patient in the same position, he just goes, whoa, and he falls backwards. What are you doing? Oh God." McClanahan, that was against that was the Finland game-winning goal for the gold medal for the 80 team.
Because people don't realize that was the real gold medal game.
I haven't question, Marcus.
We should talk a little bit about the Olympics because I don't know if we're ever going to get to it. I've not watched a second of the men's hockey tournament. Have you? And how many times have they mentioned that this is a ragtag group like the 1980 team? And how many times have you then either rolled your eyes to the back of your head or passed out from playing a drinking game?
Sure. I haven't watched a second of the men's tournament. I could not care less. And remember, folks, as Marcus White once taught me when we were 19 or 20 years old, that is the proper grammar. And I could care less, because if you could care less, you literally could care less about something. So now Marcus was the grammar Nazi.
I probably said it so obnoxiously too.
And I'll be
actually
5 years later, I'll be 24 in a month, and I still say that to people. I'm like, actually, it's couldn't care less. So let's just go over the stats here, Marcus.
Yeah,
Slovenia, who the U.S. lost to in their opening match. They won against Slovakia last night or 2 nights ago. Who gives a shit? Has an estimated population of just over 2 million people. New Jersey, the high home state, has like almost triple that amount of people or something like that. Like, well, I don't know the New Jersey.
Oh, I have a William Karlsson update.
Oh, give it to me.
His shooting percentage of 24.8%. I bleep you not. And the oldest one I'm seeing on here is from this is from 1980, 1981. I did a minimum of 120 shots because that's how many Karlsson has. I feel like that's enough to like say 24.8% of him percent of his shots have gone in the net. That is tied for 30th. The person directly ahead of him in 29th is Wayne Gretzky in a season in which Wayne Gretzky scored 92 goals.
Pretty good. It's a pretty good year.
So just to put into context, the unsustainability of William Karlsson there.
Actually unsustainable.
He is the next Wayne Gretzky, is what we're getting.
Pretty much, obviously.
So the U.S. lost to Slovenia. And not just Slovenia. Slovenia without its best player, its greatest athlete, its country's greatest export in Anze Kopitar, who's like the only reason Slovenia's at the Olympics in the first place.
So I was just wrong, by the way. New Jersey has a population of 4.25 the times of Slovenia. New Jersey's at almost 9 million. Slovenia is just over 2 million. So, and regardless, I really don't care. And whatever, you could say whatever you want about it. Listen, one, the games are at 3 in the morning, so I'm not freaking waking up for that. 2, it's just, I think we got so spoiled, Marcus, seeing the NHLers. And I think about 2010, which is, and I would agree, is maybe the greatest hockey tournament of all time, if you will. Canada and Sweden and Russia and the U.S. and all that.
And we're biased because that was on North American ice. That was in our time zone.
I'm sure there's some bias there.
Our formative years as 15, 16-year-olds. Like that's like prime.
Exactly.
Prime
High
time.
School. That's like nostalgic to me. I just don't really care that much. I've been really into figure skating. The figure skate, Marcus. I consider myself a pretty good hockey player. I consider myself an excellent an ice skater. And then I see these people skate, and I realize what a dog shit skater I am. They make it look so pretty, and I am just tearing up the ice, and it looks terrible. Adam Rippon, my new boy, if I was...
Yeah, I was going to say, honestly, you put Adam Rippon in a pair of hockay skates, like, how long does it take until he scores 20 goals in an NHL season? Like 2 years? 3? Like, skating ability-wise.
20 goals in 17 games.
All right, let's do it.
I love him. The Canadian, I forget their names, Tessa, what are the Canadian dual para skating, the guy and the girl. They were awesome. So I've been into that. Watch a little curling.
Got it, curl.
Get into curling, which is always fun. The most impressive Olympic sport to me, Marcus, is that the biathlon, the cross-country skiing, and then shoot the gun. First off, how did that become a sport is my first question.
It's such a dated thing, right? I guess when people, it always bugs me, people are like, all these junk sports, like snowboarding. I'm like, every sport is literally a junk sport by definition. Like, it's not like this. The biathlon gods didn't say, here is the sport, right?
Like, are you kidding me? Like, that was like, they were just like, that's like, 16th century in Sweden.
Right.
And they're like, we're trying to get around on the snow, and we have a gun to hunt the wolf that's about to fucking attack me.
Right.
Like, that's basically how the sport was made up. I don't even know. If that's not accurate, I'm making a movie about it, all right? We're writing that script. Listen, fun stuff. More importantly, I tweeted out the other day, the team, we have, in some aspects, North America has sent their best hockey players over to the Olympic market. And that's U.S. and Canada for women's hockey.
Yes.
That game the other night was awesome. It was actually at a decent time, too, 10 o'clock Eastern Standard Time there. Fun game. U.S. lost 2-1. I believe they outshot Canada 42-19 or something like that. But it was an awesome game. Fingers crossed they meet again in the final. And the U.S., it's been in recent years they've been dominating the World Championships, but in the Olympics they keep winning the preliminary round and then losing in the finals. So maybe it'll be a little reverse luck this year. But it was fun, great game. I love watching the girls play. That's a good time for me. So
yeah, they're good. They're good at the sport of hockey. I mean,
expert.
I've heard, haven't watched a ton. I've heard they a lot of the announcers aren't really mentioning that the players play in either the NWHL or the CWHL. They're just like saying their college stats, which like some of the women haven't played. Some of the women haven't played in college in
4 years,
5, 6, 7 years, if not longer. So they play in a professional hockey league. I'm sure the NWHL and the CWHL are not happy about that. Yeah, it's just hard for me to get into the men's tournament, and I'm glad we still got the women. That's honestly, even in 2014, arguably that was a more appealing tournament, given just how heartbreaking of an ending the U.S. experienced.
I skipped class to watch that game.
Oh,
and they're up.
I watched it in the dining hall. I was watching it at Ernie Davis.
I was watching it in my 1318 Madison Street sophomore year apartment, and I skipped class to watch the game. And I got food and had a couple of beers. And of course I was of age naturally. And they blew a 2-0 lead with 4 minutes to go, and then they lost in overtime.
They literally missed the ceiling empty net goal by an inch.
They hit the post. Yeah, I remember that.
Oh my God.
So listen, I might watch the semifinals and finals of the men's tournament. I think
I'll watch the medal round if I remember.
I'll probably watch the medal round. Other than that, I really don't care that much. It's nothing against the guys that are there.
No, it's great stories. It's just
I don't care.
And there's also talk too about someone could parlay in a strong Olympic performance into a NHL contract.
Ryan Gianta.
And I'm like, why? They're not. It's not like they're playing against. This is arguably in some cases sub AHL level competition in some of these cases. Not when you're playing against Russia because it's a KHL All-Star team. I mean, if anything, I'm gonna watch. If any of the games I'm gonna watch Kovalchuk and Datsuk. When
Marcus, that's the Olympic athletes of Russia, OAR, who've had a pretty successful music career though the past 20 years.
And I speaking of the Olympics, someone who's not there. Even though they just left the NHL, I think we got to talk about it. Before we get to the trade deadline. Jaromir Jagr, you think this is the end of the road for him? I think it probably is, but I don't know if it should be. Everyone's like, oh, he only had 7 points in 21 games. I'm like, that's pretty productive for a bottom 6 player you didn't give power play time. So I don't know if he wanted a bottom 6 role or not, but you'd have to think even at 45, a team could use a bottom 6 winger who's a power play specialist.
Marcus, I think and this goes back to the old boys club in the NHL about how dated they are when it comes to evaluating talent.
Right.
And I remember reading somebody put out a tweet a couple years ago, it was bottom 6 guy expected to get 20 points, gets 23. He goes, oh, he's had a great year. He's worked hard, blah, blah. Top 6 guy who's expected to get 70 gets 65. Oh, he's a bum. Whatever. Listen, Marcus, 30 points in today's NHL is a productive third-line player.
Right.
Listen, exclude your top 5, centers in the NHL. Get rid of Crosby, McDavid, Bergeron, whoever the hell you want to put in there. If a guy puts up 60 points, that's a first-line center in today's NHL. Right. So Jagr, who's on pace to put up 30-ish points in an 82-game season. I mean, that is a perfectly comparable play him 11, 12 minutes a night in the third line, power play specialist.
And they weren't playing him at all on the power play.
Which is just ridiculous because if you're going to play him anywhere, that's the time to play him. It's just, to me, listen, I I do think his career is probably done in the NHL, but he's going to play another 17 years over in the Czech League. They brought back my boy Peter Nedved for a game just so he could play with Yogs, former Ranger great. I just think it really shows the failure to evaluate talent when a guy like, the New York Rangers really love a guy like Cody McLeod in the lineup, and you could have claimed Jaromir Jagr. Like, you telling me he wouldn't have, in a year that you don't care about?
He wouldn't have come back to New York, right? Like,
yeah, like what a joke. What a joke. I mean, it just, to me, that's what it proves. And it's, I think it's beyond hypocritical of some of these GMs. I get he's not fast anymore, but like, to tell me he couldn't have added, just like you said, 10 minutes a night, third line, 75% offensive zone starts, and you put him out on your second power play unit, and he couldn't put up 25, 30 points, which would be productive for a guy I think his contract is only like $2 million with some bonus incentives. That's a steal in today's NHL. And it's an absolute steal. Jagr is a top 5 favorite player for me. I remember him, his year 05-06 in New York, 123 points. I'll never forget it. He's one of my favorites when he's at Pittsburgh. I've always loved Jagr, up my respect. And a guy, Marcus, I think you have to respect for really changing how he played. He adjusted to every era. I mean, if you look at the old highlights, he was the fastest guy on the ice, and he was dangling through people, and he was big and strong, and then he got slower, and some guys, he could have been done after he left for Russia, but he adapted. He got a little bit lighter. He dropped about 20 pounds and played lighter, and what a career he had, Marcus. Top 10 of all time? Where do you have him?
I think he's at least top 20. This is a guy who scored in an era in which scoring wasn't.
And if you look at it, 95 season, half the season washed. 05-06 complete. So there's a year and a half. 2012-13. There's like 2 full seasons right there. He lost from lockouts, and 3 in Russia. So there's 5 NHL seasons. Guy could have easily probably had 2,100 points, 2,200 points if he stayed here. Who knows? Especially when you look at the 95-96 lockout. He put up, I'm going to look up the stats.
94-95. I got it in front of me right now. He put up 70 points in 48 games.
Yeah, I mean, like, come on. The guy would have had like 140 points. Are you kidding me?
In the dead puck era. The next year, he had 149 points in 95-96. And I don't think he was the league's leading scorer that year either. He literally averaged an assist per game and almost a goal per game.
Yeah, the guy was one of my favorites. I would say, I mean, I would have to look at it like they're score adjusted. I think like the fact that he played so long, some could say would hurt him, like because his glory.
Oh, he's a compiler.
The compiler, Mike. He's a compiler. But honestly, for my money, top 5 favorite players of all time, Jaromir Jagr. I say if he's not top 10, he's top 15. He's up there. You could certainly. There's an argument to be had. I love Jogs. He's one of my favorites ever. So. Hey,
in terms of era-adjusted goals, this is according to Hockey Reference.
Love
Jaromir Jagr is second all-time behind Gordie Howe.
I believe it. I mean,
ahead of Wayne Gretzky, ahead of Teemu Selanne, ahead of Brett Hull. Jarome Iginla, 6th place.
Oh, good for Jarome Iginla.
Adjusting for era, so...
There you go. I mean, that proves something right there. I mean, he was a hell of a hockey player. So we wish Yogs the best. Marcus, maybe we go out and visit Yogs in the Czech one day.
I think it sucked so bad because like what happened, he was dealing with injury this year, and I think if he gets a full training camp, like, and if a team had just signed him like on July 1st, like everyone expected, as opposed to September or whatever, like. He would have had a full. He even said like he didn't really train this summer because he didn't think he was going to get signed, and then like it looked like he was going to get signed, and he was behind the 8 ball. And the reason he was in the league is because he's a fitness freaking freak. Like he's a fanatic. Like, and if you're not, maintaining your body like that, like even the slightest tweak can throw you off. But I'm glad he's going to play in the Czech Republic till he's 75.
Me too. I'm looking forward.
We should definitely visit him in Kladno. He's trying to. Get them promoted from the 2nd division.
That's right.
The Flames tried to work out a trade for Jagr, but couldn't find any partners. They'll be active once again at the trade deadline, which is only 10 days away from when we're recording this. That means we're about 11 or 12 days from a visit from an old friend. Christian Bale. He'll be making another off-camera appearance at the trade deadline. I'm sure. He's pretty he's highly anticipating the upcoming deadline.
He told me he's not going to reveal his next film, but they pushed off recording for 10 days, so he has time to get on with us.
Good. I'm glad.
Pushed off filming for 10 days.
I guess the first question going into the trade deadline is, who do you think is the player to watch, and who's the team to watch?
Great question, Marcus. I don't want to sound biased, but I think it starts with the New York Rangers, who are the premier sellers. They put out that letter to their fans, and you know what? My first thought it's very sad a little bit for me because the Rangers have made the playoffs the last 11 to 12 years. The one time they missed by a point in a shootout to the Flyers. What's up, Ole Chokinen? It's sad to think that, but I'm excited. I think if they're smart, they could be competitive within a year or two or something like that. I think if they make the right decisions. To me, Marcus, as far as a pure deadline and rental acquisition, I think it's Rick Nash. I think he's the guy to watch. I'm trying to think who tweeted it out the other day, had Rick Nash on the top of the list. Sounds like Nashville's hot on the trail, Dallas on the trail. Rangers also have Grabner. So to me, it's Rick Nash as the premier rental candidate. A guy who's going to score, but also if you have Rick Nash on your third line, all of a sudden you're looking pretty good when he comes to the playoff time. To me, he's the guy. I think you're also going to look at Evander Kane up in Buffalo. I know he's had issues, but that guy's 26 years old. And if you could trade for him and then keep him for another 5 or 6 years, that's actually going to look pretty good for you. He was off to a great pace to start the season. Didn't get it. But to me, it's Rick Nash. Marcus, the team to watch. And I'm going to go a little off the beaten path. I think your Nashvilles, your Dallas, your Tampa, maybe even Boston, these top-end teams that are looking to acquire talent who are all in for the next year or two to win it. But the team to watch, to me, Marcus, is our good friends in Las Vegas.
I had a feeling you were going to say that.
It's a very interesting place they're in. They are, top of the, right there at the top of the NHL division, 80 points. They are literally leading the race for the President's Trophy right now, they're 1 point now behind Tampa. Tampa surpassed them, which is pretty crazy. But it's an uncomfortable position, I think, if you're Vegas management over there, right? You are overachieving. I think any rational person would know that.
I think I looked it up before they played the Sharks. Something like 12 guys at least are shooting above their career average shooting percentage.
Which is great. And I think I always said if I was building an NHL team, 80 to 85% would be analytics. And then there's a little bit of other stuff that mixes in there. I think there is a little chip on their shoulder. These guys who rejected, sure, there's a human nature. Absolutely.
But they also got good players. But
that's the thing. They don't necessarily have a ton of top end skill. They don't have an Evgeny Malkin on their team, but they don't have anybody garbage either. They have
I would argue that
solid and second, third liners / pairers who are very good.
Pete DeBoer had a good quote when they played the Sharks. He said they don't really have top 4 lines. They have 2 number 2 lines and 2 third lines. Well, I don't necessarily agree with that about the bottom 6. I think that's apt about the top 6.
Closer, I would say they have 2.5 second, third lines, and they have a fourth line, kind of more like that.
And a lot of teams don't have that.
No, and it's great in their blue line depth. But Marcus, realistically, they're all in. They're going to make the playoffs. But what are you going to do with James Neal? What are you going to do? Now they signed Marchessault, which good for him. And you got these guys. You got these guys for Carlson and all that stuff. But they set it up so they could trade and get more draft picks. They do already have a ton of draft picks, which is all well and good and stuff like that. Sorry, I'm looking at I just giggled. I'm looking at their cap-friendly page, and I forgot David Clarkson is technically a Las Vegas Golden Knights. All these guys, but are they, Marcus? And I listened to our good friend Greg Wyshynski, a big fan of his, of course. I was listening to some recent podcast of his.
ESPN Ice or Puck Soup?
It was on ESPN. No, it was Puck Soup, actually, last week. and he was arguing with Dave Lozo about how he thinks they shouldn't make any moves. Yeah. And I respect Greg, and he let me write for his Puck Daddy page when he was still there and all that fun stuff.
That's right. But, so he is technically a friend of the show.
Listen, right. I have his email. I can email him right now if he wants. My point being is he says they shouldn't do anything because of what they have going. He goes, this is beyond analytics, all that good stuff. But if they're smart, Marcus, do they have to be realistic about the future? Should they mortgage their future for one good year and all of a sudden they're not good for the next 4 or 5 years?
I don't think they need to. I think the move for them is not a rental for picks. It's not. The move is for someone that you can build around and get picks. And I'm going to say it. The move is, I don't think they do anything. But if they do something, I think it's for a McDonough type. Yeah. Or the big kahuna. I think you go after Erik Karlsson.
Hot takes.
I don't think he's getting traded. I think that's at the draft. Craig Custance wrote as much today on the Athletic. Excuse me. I think if that because that's what I look. I look at their team. I see their blue line. I'm still not sold.
No.
In a playoff series, you're gonna need top. You're gonna need a guy. It needs to be a move like that. It needs to be for an Erik Karlsson or a Ryan McDonough. I could see them going after a Mike Green. I don't think they do anything to their forward group.
Yeah.
I don't think they're in on Nash, although that'd be fun. Michael Grabner, maybe I could see.
Grabner's the one forward that would sort of make sense there because you wouldn't have to kill yourself over him to get.
Right.
But the problem here, Marcus, is they don't have a real prospect pool right now. Right. And especially when you think about the Rangers or Mike Green or Erik Karlsson. Let's talk Karlsson even. Let's get away from the Rangers. They want a top prospect, 2 first-round picks, and then another guy for them.
You're basically trading what prospects you do have.
But is that enough? I think that's the question to ask.
Well, they got 3. They had 3 lottery picks last year.
Yeah, sure, of course, and that's great and all. But they don't necessarily have that. They don't have that premier top prospect, whether it be in Europe or in the AHL that they're waiting for. Right? There's no use from the juniors, a Casey Middlestat talent. There's not that guy's on the wings. Think that's where Vegas will struggle to make that high-end deal. If let's say it's McDonough and the Rangers want a prospect and another mid-tier guy, can they really give that up? Who are they giving up for that kind of thing?
You're probably giving up Nick Suzuki, who was one of their first-round draft picks last year. You're giving up the first this year, which I don't think they should do. I mean, they've got so many picks that they can restock. However bare the cupboard is, they're still in a good position to stock it.
They have Marcus, just real quick. They have a first, a second this year, no third, no fourth. So they have a Pittsburgh's fourth. They have 2 fifths, 2 sixths. The next 2 years, they have their own first-round pick in 19 and 20. They have 3 second-round picks each year. They have 3 third-round picks in 2019. They have 2 fifth-round picks in 2019. So they certainly got some picks they could sell around. It's a tough situation to be in Vegas because as much as this is all good, is James Neal going to resign there, Marcus?
I don't know.
30 years old, are you going to overpay for a James Neal when you're a new franchise? He's been great and all that stuff, but you got to be realistic about what the future holds. Are you going to go after that guy? They already signed Marchessault, which good for him.
Are they going to re-sign a David Perron too?
Are they going to sign? What about William Karlsson? What's he getting? He's coming off $1 million. Are you going to pay him?
That arbitration hearing is going to be hilarious.
I saw you tweeting about that. I mean, who are you going to sign? And they have no legit defensemen on that roster.
Yeah. I like Shea Theodore and Nate Schmidt.
I was going to say Theodore is fine. Nate Schmidt's a decent defender. Theodore's still 22, so he's got plenty of time, but no top-end defenseman. It's certainly not an easy situation to be in if you're Vegas. And that's what makes them intriguing to me. I think they could do a lot here. Another intriguing team here, Marcus. We'll move on from Vegas. We could talk about them all day. We're big fans. Talk about Nashville. Talk about Dallas. Talk about our favorite team in the entire world.
Yes.
The Carolina Hurricanes.
Yes.
Finally, as of today recording at 6 o'clock on February 16th, 2018. The Carolina Hurricanes, Marcus, are in the playoffs in that second wild card spot. We finally didn't jinx them. They have oodles and oodles of salary cap space.
Yes.
We've talked to the Sedines. We've talked to everybody. We want everybody to go to Carolina and win a Stanley Cup.
I've got a new crazy trade idea for the.
Give it to me. Marcus and I, by the way, folks, we run it in our fantasies. Some people have sexual fantasies. Marcus and I dream about running the Carolina Hurricanes.
Yes.
Yes.
So there's a lot of talk that they might try and trade Justin Falk, especially because they got to pay Noah Hannafin, and they have so many good, talented young defensemen.
Apparently, Jeff Skinner's being floated out there too now. I hear
Skinner as well. The Rangers, if they trade McDonough, they might need a defenseman. They might need a defenseman, and Falk's still 25. He still fits, right? The Carolina Hurricanes need a goaltender.
Oh! Lundqvist, hold on. So what's your trade? Go ahead.
I don't know what the pieces are, but something centered around, and I don't think you have to give up much more, but a 1-for-1 almost. Lundqvist, Falk. Does this make too much? I know it's in the division, but does this make too much sense?
I would need – okay, here's my thing. If you're going to do that, then to me you need to keep McDonough. Okay. I think because then if you had a top four of McDonough, Falk, Shattenkirk, Shea,
right?
And then your bottom pairing is Pionk and Gilmore, who are two guys I love who they've called up.
They've got a goalie coming up, right? Like
they got the Rangers do. Playing. He's the backup for Russia right now in the Olympics. If that was your scenario, then you probably immediately have the best top four in the Metropolitan Division. If you want to move McDonough too, then I go McDonough, Lundqvist. Maybe you have to throw in like a second round pick.
Oh, so you're saying McDonough in this trade because of the cost certainty? He's signed for a little less than Falk is for shorter. Okay.
So if you went like McDonough, Lundqvist, and let's say a second round pick.
Right.
For Falk and Jeff Skinner.
I mean, it's a pure hockey trade.
Maybe it's a conditional first if McDonough resigns kind of thing.
Right.
But to me, that's a trade that immediately improves both teams. Yeah. It gives the Rangers a need in which they have a young, skilled forward with this upside. Listen. It's funny, and Jeff Skinner's another one of those guys, Marcus.
He's 25.
I mean, who's like, I feel like could be 34.
Yeah, he's 25.
Because he's been around for so long. Although it sounds like the Rangers want like younger guys. They want like 23 and younger kind of thing.
I think the Canes have that though. The Canes have young guys. They could. I think there's a deal here to get Henrik Lundqvist to Raleigh, North Carolina is all I'm saying.
The Rangers then have to take on Scott Darling's contract because I have no interest.
I think they take Ward back, just have another goalie for the rest of the year.
Sure, you take Cam Ward back for that. I mean, you could live with that. Maybe I would take Darling back if $2 million of that per year was retained, kind of thing.
Potentially,
something like that. It's certainly an idea. I like that. You wonder what the Hurricanes are going to do besides trying to make some money by selling Hartford Whalers gear at the trade deadline.
So they're actually going to be doing a fundraiser to raise money to sign John Tavares this season. They're just going to sell.
Speaking of John Tavares, they could talk to the Islanders fans about getting a GoFundMe page up to raise some money for something here.
I'm not trying to make the Carolina Hurricanes the cast-off team for like all the superstars who need to leave New York in order to like achieve glory. However,
Lundqvist, Nick Dunna, Rick, you know what? Rick Nash can go down there.
Yes.
Just send them all. Send them all down there. Might as well. Everyone down there. And, they could play for a season or two with like no income, no state tax and all that fun stuff. They'll save some money on their next contract. Tavares goes down there, signs a 1 year, like $16 million a year contract, and then he's a free agent again the next year. He turns into LeBron of the NHL.
Yes,
he's signing 1 and 2 year contracts.
Player power, baby,
to keep making money. That'd be hysterical. That'd be unbelievable.
Realistically, if the Rangers want to tear it down, And I know he said he wants to be here, but like
you got to trade Lundqvist.
You got, right?
He's like, for the record. I mean, they beat the Jets the other day. The Winnipeg Jets, who, by the way, like are Stanley Cup contenders. Talk about a team that could use Rick Nash or Michael Grabner. Like in their bottom 6 right there. Like that's a team right there that's legit. Lundqvist is going to ruin all your plans.
Right.
If you unless you're going a quick turnaround, you say trade this year, then sign Tavares and John Carlson and just go back. Okay, if that was your plan, then keep Lundqvist.
Then why did you write the letter?
Exactly. And it doesn't seem like they're playing to me. So if you're going to blow it up, you got to move Lundqvist. And that's the most heartbreaking thing in the world. But if Lundqvist goes to another team and the Rangers suck, I'll be a fan of that team for the next 2 or 3 years to see if he wins a cup. Cole Zimmerman told me that the Rangers should trade Lundqvist to Pittsburgh so he can win a couple cups. And I was like, all right. I was like, who you sending back to me? Give me.
He's already spoiled on Matt Murray.
Yeah, he's not a Matt Murray fan.
He never liked him.
Matt Murray has not been good in the regular season.
No, yeah, I mean, but they're still winning. So for the record, Henrik Lundqvist this year, who's how old? He's 35 years old.
He'll be 36 on March 2nd.
His even strength save percentage, 924. Scott Darling, 901. Cam Ward's
not good.
Cam Ward's even strength save percentage, according to his hockey reference page. This is not just 5-on-5. This is all of even strength. I believe it includes 3-on-3, blah, blah, blah. Drum roll, please. It is 918. I'm just saying, who has the cap space to make a Lundqvist deal work and who needs a goalie? You're limiting yourself, and the Canes have the prospects to pull it off. I know we've talked the Sedins. We've talked everybody going to the team.
They need a goalie. They need a goalie.
I see a deal here that works. I've not heard a single link, and I don't even know if they're barking up that tree.
Marcus, I know the link. You know what the link is, right?
What's the link that you?
Well, Henrik Lundqvist, for the record, if I ever have children, my firstborn son is going to be named Brooks Lundqvist McNeilis. Brooks as in Garth Brooks and Herb Brooks, of course, and then Lundqvist for obvious reasons. Marcus, the Hurricanes play in North Carolina. Do you know who was born in North Carolina?
I was going to say you.
This guy right here.
I was going to do Jim Nantz.
Yeah, that's right. Jim Nantz, born in Charlotte, grew up in Colts Neck, New Jersey, just like this guy. Hello, friends. Jim Nantz. But I'm saying that's all the connection you need in the world. Henrik Lundqvist is, our Lord and Savior. And, just like, that made up guy in the sky, Jesus, Lundqvist.
Wow.
Lundqvist has taken all our sins and never been rewarded for it. So this is his chance to be rewarded.
Just taking swipes at organized religion here.
Hey, at least my 500 Lundqvist I could see. All right.
Yeah, I just think it makes because I don't know where else you're going to be able to trade Lundqvist realistically.
He's got a big contract. It's for 3 more years, I believe.
Who else needs a goalie that badly?
It's a great question. I'm looking through each team right now. I'm trying to think who could actually use a goalie.
I mean, Philly, like
you're not trading him to Philly,
right?
Lundqvist for Eichel,
right? Buffalo could. But it's not going to be to a rebuild team. It's going to be to a team that's close. You're not taking. Yeah, Lundqvist has got 3 years left at 8.5. The Rangers. St. Louis, maybe. Jake Allen hasn't been great.
That's territory for sure.
I mean, the only one that really, really makes sense is, Chicago clearly could use goaltending now after Corey Crawford went down.
But that's just it. They got Corey Crawford. I mean, to Corey Crawford's credit, I'm pretty sure 4 years ago, we're this guy's not that good, and he actually turned out to be a pretty good goalie.
No, I mean, we're seeing it now how much he's been a key to their success. He did not have a 9 whatever save percentage just because the team in front of him was so dope. He's a good goal. He's a really good goalie. I don't know when I came around on Corey Crawford, but it was I
don't know.
Probably 20. I'm trying to look at his seasons. He's always had great even strength numbers. Probably that maybe not the first year he won the cup, but the second year they won the cup, I was like, okay, this guy's an elite.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
Goalie. I mean, I think he's, I think Carey Price has been the overrated goalie of our time, but
he might be.
Corey Crawford might be better than Carey Price.
That's like, you can make that argument.
I think Braden Holtby is, no doubt, but
overrated.
No, is better than Carey Price.
Oh, listen, I've watched Braden Holtby like in numerous playoff series. That guy's freaking unbelievable. That guy's unbelievable. Like, he's so good. That's another guy like you feel bad for. Just has never had the team that. Actually, I disagree. He's had the team, unlike Lundqvist.
Right. They've just let him down.
His team has just shit the bed on multiple occasions. Once again, as far as I'm concerned, the Washington Capitals should have folded the franchise after not winning last year. So.
I mean, they're leading the division again, but it's just setting up for heartbreak. Like, this is the worst team.
Lose to the Penguins in the second round.
This is the worst team Ovi's had. Like, who, by the way, is, we haven't talked enough. We haven't talked enough about how Alex Ovechkin is, on pace to score. How many goals? He's got 34 goals in 57 games. Already has more goals than he did last year in 25 fewer games. Like, he might get 50.
Ovechkin is the greatest pure goal scorer in NHL history.
I don't think that's even controversial to state.
It's not even a debate. The only guy who would even come close is Mike Bossy.
Bad seasons, he scored 30 goals. His objectively bad seasons, he was a 30-goal scorer,
which is absurd.
He leads the league in goals
with 30. What is
34 goals?
Kucherov has what? 32, 33.
Checking right now. I'm on the NHL's
stats
page. Give me a. Who's second in points behind Nikita Kucherov? Surprising.
Phil Kessel.
Johnny Gaudreau.
Really?
Yeah.
Johnny Hockey, man.
He might be having an MVP season. You will not. It is. There are 3 Russians in the top 3 in goal scoring, but you won't guess who's number 2.
Ilya Kovalchuk.
No.
Is he out of the league?
Yeah, he is. Evgeny Malkin.
You know what? I think I saw it the other day. Yeah.
32 goals.
Yeah, Malkin's been legit.
But he's not a top 100 player of all time. Whatever. Like, that's fine.
But Jonathan Toews and Duncan Keith are.
Yeah.
But Henrik Lundqvist isn't either.
Oh, Joe Thornton? Also not.
Joe Thornton sucks, Marcus. What are you talking about?
Right. We could talk a little. We talked Joe Thornton. We could talk a little Sharks. There's been some links.
Heck yeah. So what are the Sharks doing, Marcus? Please.
They've been linked. They were linked to Thomas Plekanec last weekend, which is, as a rental piece, is about as intriguing as it gets. I think he's still a really, really good defensive center.
Yeah.
He could draw some tough assignments, free up Logan.
I like that because that could free up Couturier and Logan Couture. I'm saying Couturier. That's Logan Couture and Couturier. Like, I confuse all the time.
I hope they're on the same team at some point in their career
because you know why? They're really similar players too. Really good offensive players who get burdened with defensive responsibilities and probably don't get the offensive stats they should get.
Right.
And so
Couture's having a really good year. He's having a great year.
Great player. Besides being a creep, he's a great player. Wait, I have a great Michael Del Zotto creep story if we really want to go hard. But we're going to tease that. We're teasing that.
Saving that for later. We're saving the Del Zotto story for later.
No, but honestly, Plekanec, I like that idea. Put him as your third line center. And
short term, it's not going to screw you over to get Tavares.
Yeah, 100%.
I mean, if you don't know if Joe Thornton's coming back, if he is coming back,
you're fine.
As old as that is, you're conceivably running your top 4 centers are Joe Thornton, who will be, coming back from injury, Logan Couture, who's had a good year, but, a lot of that year has been driven by some of the line mates, i.e. Tomas Hertl. His possession numbers away from Hertl are, good God, man, they're bad. Much like Brent Burns is the Brent Burns whisperer is your old friend Joachim Ryan.
Yogi.
You go with Thornton, Couture, Tierney, who's having a great year as their third line center, scored 14 goals.
I like Christian.
I mean, he's been used properly this year. I wrote about it. One of the last things I wrote for Fear the Fin was basically about how they tried to use him as like a shutdown guy, but that's not who he is. Like, his skill set is fits better as a matchup problem with bottom six deployment, and that's what he's been this year. And a broken clock is right once or twice a day, so I don't feel any attachment to that. But then Puckleheads is your fourth. Like, that's good center depth, especially they're in, I think, the worst division in the league.
Yeah, especially with how bad Evanston's been.
And I specifically mean for a playoff run. Like, if you go, I think the Atlantic might be a worse division than the Pacific, but that's going to be the hardest gauntlet to go through in the postseason, because you're going to have to. Boston, Toronto first round, or Tampa Bay, Toronto first round. In any other year, that's a conference final.
Which is why, I mean, we could do this. We could do an entire 4-hour segment about how garbage.
Did you see Lozo's suggestion of the Phi Guy system?
No, I didn't see it. What is it?
Once they get to 32 teams, just go fuck it. Everyone gets in. And it was great. Like, you tier it, so you have like the bottom 8 teams play, and then they advance, and then they play the next. The advancing teams play the next 4 teams above them. So it's basically like the FA Cup kind of system, and how it
Lozo's a wild card, man. He doesn't give a flying.
It was a great article. It was on Vice. I was pretty convinced. I think it'd be awesome, because then you wouldn't have, no team would tank. Like, everyone would be convinced that they're a playoff team. Like, you already have that now. You might as well embrace it.
To me, go ahead.
No, that's all I was saying.
Yeah, to me, I think you just the only to me, especially once you get Seattle and you have 16-16. With Seattle, it seems like it's a foregone conclusion at this point. It's pretty much, they submitted an application, all that fun stuff. To me, divisions should only affect your scheduling.
Yes.
And, honestly, just do geography. Like, I'm a Ranger fan. You want to see the Sharks play the Kings 6 times and the Ducks 6 times. You want to see those rivalry matches. Like, I want to see the Devils and the Flyers and the Islanders, whatever. Okay, great. After that conference, strictly to me, it should be 1 through 8. That's it. Just there should be divisions shouldn't matter.
I'm going further.
1 through 8 matchup in each conference.
I'm going further. I think
1 through 16. Fuck it. I'm fine with that too. I really could not care less. Again, because you said, imagine the Sharks and the Kings playing in the Stanley Cup Finals.
Right.
Like, how cool would that be? It would be the coolest thing in the world.
We'll get back to the Sharks in a second, but I think the route you can go, I did the math a little bit. So if there's 16 teams in the league, 16 teams in each conference, we're going to figure out who goes east later. Maybe Nashville goes east. Like, that might be the. I don't know if they're like.
Someone needs to go west, because we got 16 teams in the East right now.
No, but we have
16 and 4. 16 and 15 right now. You're good. It would just be Seattle.
Okay, so who's gonna move to? Basically, the question is, who's gonna move to the Central?
Yeah, Vegas.
No, I think they're too close to Zona.
Colorado.
I think you're gonna see a rat. Colorado's already in the Central.
Oh,
I think they're just going to radically redistribute the division. But anyway, what you can do is, if you keep the divisional format of the 8 and 8, right? The 8-8-8, you just have you're going to make it so you're going to play every team in the league at least twice. Yeah. So that's going to give you 62 games, right? And then with the extra ones, you can just make it so, like, you'll play every team in your division 4 times, right?
Okay.
And that gets you to what's 2, because you're already at 62. 2 times 7 is 14. Boom, you're at 76. And then, or you maybe just do it 3 times, or you play every team in your conference 3 times, whatever. Every team in your conference 3 times, and then 4. My point is, if you can do a 1 through 16 seeding by, like, a round robin, because that's what the Premier League is. Every team plays each other twice, and that's how the table works. People will be like, oh, well, I don't know about the schedule. Or fuck it, just have every team play each other twice. It's a 58 game. No, excuse me, a 60.
Walter, that's just not going to happen.
No, I know, but, like, it's a 62 game regular season. That'd be great. And then 1 through 16 in the playoffs.
It'd be freaking intense. It'd be intense. Listen.
The Premier League doesn't lose any of its rivalry luster by the fact their teams only play each other twice each season.
Yeah, I'm with you on that.
And then you introduce a mid-season cup tournament at the All-Star break.
Marcus is just turning the NHL into the Premier League. And then we go regulation.
Right.
We have the AHL and the ECHL involved.
But at the midseason tournament, you have the top teams in each division, and they will play for home ice advantage in the postseason. The winner of that tournament, the President's Trophy winner gets home ice, and then the person who gets home ice below them is the winner of that tournament. Doesn't matter if they're. We'll figure it out.
That's insane. A little less chaotic, but I said I'm fine with. I'm actually okay with 1 through 16. But if worse comes to worse, because the NHL is so conservative, we know they're not going to do that.
No, if anything, they'll just make it more. They're going to make it so like every team in each division makes the playoffs, and then it's the 16.
And then they play out of that, and then they get to the 16. Listen, I'm fine with just division just affects schedule 1 through 8, like call it a good night Jim Kite kind of thing. Right. So to me that would make sense, but you know what? It's the NHL. That makes too much sense.
Right.
The NHL needs to complicate things and make it not sure and all that fun jazz here. Back
to the Sharks. So now they're also linked to 2 Ottawa guys. Jean-Gabriel Pageau.
Yeah.
Who could be a bottom 6 center for them, whatever. Craig Custance was like, they're trying to compile centers. Number 2, another guy you have familiarity with. They've been linked also to Derek Brassard.
Derek Brassard.
That I'm not. I think the play for them, if they acquire Brassard, I think that means they think about trading Logan Couture at the draft.
Sure.
Because if you really want John Tavares,
I have an ad playing on TSN.com here.
No, you're fine. If you really want John Tavares, and you already bring in Derek Brassard, and he's signed, I think, for 2 more years.
One more year after this.
Okay, well, then so is Couture. So you could conceive of, you don't have to trade Couture, but you're going to be left with a choice of, you're going to have less cap space, and if you want to maximize the cap space, I don't think they bring in Brassard unless Ottawa takes back Paul Martin's contract.
Sure.
Which I don't see happening. So I think they're going to do a little smaller, I write about the team, and, this is not said because, I rooted for them my whole life. I want it to just be I just want a nuts trade deadline.
I want it to be absolute chaos.
I want I want what happened at the NBA trade deadline, where Cleveland reinvented themselves on the fly.
I really know nothing about basketball, but I was just going through Twitter when that was happening, and I was like, what the actual fuck is going on?
Right. It was great.
It was great. I'm not even a basketball fan. So
and it made me realize how much I want to see Erik Karlsson traded. I want to see all these guys but I know that's not going to happen till the draft, if at all. So yeah, I don't see Brassard landing in San Jose. Another team he was linked to, the Pittsburgh Penguins, which
that makes sense. Yeah.
But if you're Pittsburgh, why would you why do anything?
All right, hey Marcus, we're gonna play a game here on the fly.
Okay.
Calling an audible. So I have TSN Hockey Trade Tracker here.
Cool.
Their trade bait list, their ranking, their top. I'm going to go through the top 10, just the top 10. We'll keep it simple. Trade deadline targets, according to TSN.
We have another game we got to play later, too.
All right. Yeah, that's right. We have one more game to play. Top 10 trade deadline targets. According to TSN, I might throw in 1 or 2 extras just for the hell of it.
Sure.
And we're both we don't need to give the trade. Let's just go over the teams. Let's say,
first of all, their list, Jack Johnson is number 9 on their list.
I'm not. I'm going to say that's why I said I might add another 2 in. I'm not counting Jack Johnson. I'm not even talking about Jack Johnson. So we're going to go through the list.
I feel bad that he's bankrupt, but I don't care where he ends up.
Yes, poor parents. Nothing like trusting your parents with your money. And we're going to go through the list, and we're each going to say which team they think they'll wind up with. Fair?
Okay, yeah.
All right, number 1 right now is Rick Nash.
Columbus.
I say Nashville.
I think Columbus gets desperate. It's a good nostalgia move. It'll help them in a playoff push. Him and Panarin on the same line would be a lot of fun.
The bread man. Mike Green.
Capitals. Same.
Back
same
to Washington. Boat. Washington, sleeper on that. If they don't want to go all in on McDonough or Carlson, would be Tampa.
I think Vegas is also a Mike Green sleeper. Real quick, how insane is it that Mike Green didn't make an Olympic team in 2010 when he?
That's the dumbest freaking thing in the world.
He had 150 points in 2 years. I know they ended up winning the gold medal and it was fine, but like
Marcus, he doesn't play defense well.
That's right. Okay. Much like PK Subban.
Oh Jesus, here we go again. Oh God. Anyway, Mike Hoffman.
I think he stays.
I think he stays too. That's to me. We're only going trade deadline moves, so I think that's a move that could happen later on. Derek Brassard.
I think he stays too.
I don't think
Ottawa ends up doing anything.
I'm going to say Pittsburgh. Patrick Maroon is on this list.
Why is he above Evander Kane? Just because he's cheap? I don't know. Tampa Bay, because John Cooper coached him in junior, and it's the nepotistic hockey league instead of the National Hockey League. Like, I don't know.
Back to Anaheim, Patrick Maroon.
Oh, that'd be fun.
Evander Kane.
I think he stays because they end up asking for too much.
I think they panic and sell him for very under the trade value that he's deserving. And I think he goes to Dallas.
I can see it.
Michael Grabner.
This is tough. Because I think he's should be the most appealing guy to GMs. Little contract. Yes, he scores a ton of empty net goals, but he doesn't play any power play time. Like, you got to expect that he's going to come crashing down to earth a bit, but he's going to help a team in their top 9, specifically in that swing area, that middle 6 area, second or third line. I think Dallas. I think Dallas for him. I think they're going to miss out on some other guys, and I think he'd fit really nice.
I'm going Winnipeg.
Okay, that'd be a good fit too. Yeah.
Hey, give me 2 seconds. Apparently, my entire house is ignoring the doorbell, and I got to answer it.
Okay. So Kyle's got to answer the door, and I'm gonna stall in the meantime. The game we'll be playing next is what we like to call manage, fold, kill. So we're gonna have 3 franchises that will have the opportunity to either manage and take over as general manager, fold and disperse their players at a dispersal.
Are we moving on? Do you want to finish out the top 10?
No, I was just explaining what the game is. Or kill, as in the franchise does not. No one who's on the franchise gets to play anymore. So that's coming up shortly here.
I'm ignoring the next 2 because no one gives a shit about Mark Letestu or Jack Johnson. This is such a Canadian list because 7 out of the top 10 are all Canadian hockey players.
Right.
Max Pacioretty's not getting traded.
I think so. I also think he's not getting traded.
Max Domi's not getting traded. That makes no sense.
I could see Max Domi getting traded though.
The rest of the list is garbage. I got to be honest.
Thomas Vanek is an appealing one. I think Tampa Bay. They've got the winning culture. He's on a really cheap contract just to shore up the team, get a little more depth. I think Tampa Bay is a fit.
Thomas Vanek's one of those. Classic. As much as I want them to go all in, they won't. So Thomas Vanek winds up in Carolina. Because they're not going to do the big trade like we want them to.
Vanek would still be fun in Carolina, though.
He would be fun. All right, I'm ending the list there because I'm not talking about Zach Smith.
You're not talking McDonough?
I mean, I feel like we've talked McDonough 100 times already.
I think he's going to Boston, man. I think
Boston sounds to me. It's Boston or Tampa are the only 2 teams I feel like could do it.
I think it's the Bruins, man. He's a Boston boy, right? Like he's from there.
He's from Minnesota.
Oh well, I whatever.
You're just an idiot. Do your research, you clown.
The Minnesota Wild, they're going to trade Ryan Suter.
Wind up in the Wild to get another Minnesota guy there. Him and Zach Parise, hanging out.
And Ryan Suter. The rest of this list stinks.
The rest of this is garbage.
It's gonna be a crappy trade deadline. I just know it.
Looking at this, a 3rd-round pick, I'll be hyped.
Looking at this list now, I can tell that it's going to be a crappy trade deadline.
Yeah, it's dog shit.
Alex Galchenyuk getting traded would be very fun.
Because Montreal Canadians and Alex. Why don't we get into our game here?
Yes, manage, fold, kill. So Kano and I talked about before the show which franchise's perennial disappointment this season has been more enjoyable to watch from a Schadenfreude perspective. We came up with the options of Montreal, the Montreal Canadiens, who famously traded PK Subban for Shea Weber, and whose players think that PK Subban like donates $10 million to hospitals in their city because
how funny was that shit with Gallagher?
Oh, it was hilarious. Like, and then you had the guy on Twitter who Colton Tubert, who's like a former like first round pick who flamed out, who called PK Subban a Monday, which is a I didn't know this, but you know I don't use the word as an insult, so I didn't think I had to. Which is reportedly it's a coded racial slur for Black people, and like it was in
Monday?
like as in like I hate Mondays, like I hate like it's a way of saying like I hate Black people.
You called them a Monday?
Colton Tubert, who was played on a World Junior team with who flamed out of professional hockey, like played in Germany, like had a really like did not live up to his own hype.
Cool.
Called him that, and then like doubled down on Twitter that like he did nothing wrong. He was like, "Oh, I'm not supposed to look up Urban Dictionary. Like, how am I supposed to know that?" Then another guy said that it was an open secret that members of that World Junior team called PK Subban a Monday. And when that came out, there was a stand-up routine about like how that word is used to describe minorities.
Good times.
Hockey doesn't have a race problem.
Nope, doesn't. Of course not.
So seeing Montreal be bad then in the wake of all this has just been delicious. Just delicious. Especially all the Montreal coverage when he came back of people still kind of trying to justify the fact that they traded Shea Weber for PK Subban when PK Subban was already better than Shea Weber and is going to be better over the duration of that contract.
I'm going to say this right now. All right, I'm going to say this right now. PK Subban is going to be an NHL Hall of Famer, and I don't think Shea Weber is.
Wow! Oh yes, yes, yes.
You heard it here first.
Yes,
folks. You heard it here, folks.
I mean, he'll get in because of the Olympic achievement.
I was going to say Shea Weber probably will get in, but like realistically, like
he probably not.
Probably,
but it's the Hall of very good unless you're like
the Hall of he was nice to me one time. So we can get into all things. So all right, one time we have manage, fold, and kill, right?
Manage, fold, kill. So we got Montreal as the first option. Number 2, the Edmonton Oilers. Who could have seen this coming? They need scoring wingers.
I mean, it's like there's a guy who's playing about 35 minutes from my house. He's pretty good.
There's 2 that are playing like fairly close to you.
One's
on Long Island.
35 minutes from my house, and there's one about an hour from my house who are both pretty good who they could use. I wonder if only they had guys like that.
If only they had Taylor Hall and Jordan Eberle, I wonder where they'd be.
Yeah.
So that's been really fun. And now you've got the Edmonton media trying to drum up the trade Draisaitl thing, because the only solution to having less good players than you had before is to have have fewer good players than you had before, is to have even fewer good players. As everyone knows, that's the key to team building. Low key, Peter Chiarelli, like his management track record is not impressive.
No,
he's torn down a few. Like Boston is just now recovering from what he did. And then the third team, a surprising addition. Ever since he went down, we talked about it. Ever since Corey Crawford went down, they haven't been the same. And that's Chicago, who are 12 points out of the playoffs.
Yeah.
The most surprising one in this little game here, but makes it no less fun. So Connell, manage, fold, kill.
Sure.
Edmonton, Chicago, Montreal.
Sure, of course. It's tough here. To me, the kill, I think, is obviously Montreal.
Yeah, I think so.
Because they have nothing going for them. You look at their prospect pool is mediocre.
And no one's going to care if you don't see those guys in the league anymore.
Their roster
kill means their players would not be dispersed. It means that their franchise is done. They're all done in the NHL.
From the NHL. They got Carey Price turning 30, making $10.5 million for the next 8 years. They have Shea Weber making $1 billion for the next billion years. They have Jeff Petrie and Carl Osner taking up nearly $10 million for the next 4 years. They have they just have an abysmal roster who isn't going to do anything for a long, and their prospect pool isn't good. Would want nothing to do with managing. Let
alone folding.
Let alone folding the Montreal Canadiens. Despite some issues they may have, I actually like the direction that the Chicago Blackhawks are going in. They have Nick Schmaltz. They have the DeBrincats, Alex DeBrincats. I still think they could use some defensemen, but it is what it is. I at least think they could be in contention in the next couple of years. And then, of course, we have Edmonton, who has the premier talent of this generation and is surrounding him with worldwide renowned hockey players like Milan Lucic, Zach Kassian, Patrick Maroon, and Mark Letestu. Not to mention the world-class blue line of a 31-year-old aging Andre Sekera, Curse Russell for another 3 years with a no-movement clause, and Adam Larson, who seemingly had the reverse NHL career of every other player ever, in which he started here and has just gotten worse and worse and worse and worse as his career has gone on. Because it is really close of which teams I choose. I don't even know. I keep going back and forth. From a pure talent perspective, building around Draisaitl and McDavid, I want to take over Edmonton.
But there's so many terrible contracts there that you're
so bad. Like, at least Chicago realistically only has one really, really bad contract, and that's the Brett Seabrook deal. So because of that, I would fold Edmonton and give Connor McDavid the piece he deserves, and I would manage the Chicago Blackhawks.
Wow.
Because realistically, the Blackhawks have done a very good job. They really, really have only given out over. You know, it's amazing. Over this entire run, they've pretty much only given out one terrible contract, and that's the Brent Seabrook deal. The Tays and Kane contracts, I think, are gonna be bad pretty soon. But at the same time, you can't blame them, because are you gonna really let those guys walk when they're 27 years old? It's kind of like, right. You know what I mean? So I would manage the Blackhawks and fold and give Connor McDavid the piece he deserves.
I think I'm going to go the opposite of you.
That's fair.
I like a little, but I do think the Oilers are a bigger challenge advantage. I still just think McDavid, Draisaitl, you've got something there. You've got something there.
Yeah. But like, you know, you would then like. I think the argument there is. I think the argument there would be that, like, because they're so young and you have so much time, like, you could afford to just not like just blow it all up for like 3 or 4 years, and you're still going to get those guys like pretty much in the prime of their career. You know what I mean?
Right.
So I think that's the argument there.
I think you have premium. I mean, you've got premium talent in if you choose. I think if you go McDavid, Draisaitl, Nugent Hopkins down the middle, you've got, even though you're paying a premium,
yeah,
center's an important position. You've got like one of the best 1, 2, 3 punches in the
league. I agree.
If you split them up.
I can make that argument. You got time to get them.
But I'm trading everybody else. I am trading Milan Lucic.
Not a single within the next year and within the next 18 months, not a single player would be on the roster except for those 3.
I don't care if I'm giving away like a first-round pick. I'm getting rid of Chris Russell and Milan Lucic.
You could get guys. It'd be worth it to pay $800K for 2 years, and just for that reason alone.
Yeah, I'm fine with that. They've got, and I like their prospects. I like Yamamoto. I love Puljujarvi.
Yeah.
And those are like the only guys they've hit on in the draft, which is going to make it tough. But I'd be looking to clear the decks a little bit.
Sure.
And just use McDavid, and it's a little tougher because you're basically managing a team in Siberia as opposed to Chicago, a great metropolitan city.
Yeah, but Winnipeg doesn't have good Wi-Fi, Marcus.
Oh my god, that whole
That was
that
the
whole thing.
funniest thing
I
ever.
can't. I don't think I can get too much into it because where I work, like our social team made the video. I will say though, just what like I'll say it. Who cares? The perfect bleep storm, right? Like nobody has a bigger chip on their shoulder than hockey fans. No hockey fans have a bigger chip on their shoulder than Canadian hockey fans, and no Canadian hockey fans have a bigger chip on their shoulder than Winnipeg hockey fans. And I think ultimately it's bad because anytime someone's going to try and do something funny anymore now, it's going to be like, oh, we're worried about a backlash. Like any other sport, this was a non-story. Instead, like it's persist. Like Patrick Laine referenced it in his Players Tribune article,
which he didn't write.
Well, yeah, obviously. I don't get it. Justin Broad was talking about the hotel Wi-Fi, not the city Wi-Fi. They took it as an attack on their civic infrastructure.
Wyshynski and Lozo said a great thing. They're like, yeah, we're not in Philly. Like, they're like, people rip on Jersey all the time. They're like, imagine like we spent all our time just defending New Jersey. We're like, listen, we like it. Like, you don't like it. It's the end of the world.
Like if this, my analogy was if this was the NBA and someone made a video about going to play the Timberwolves in Minnesota, the Timberwolves probably would have been like, yeah, you're right. It is really cold, but we love it here. But we love it.
It was like the Super Bowl. Everyone's like, it's cold here. And we're like, yeah, it's Minnesota in the winter.
Yeah, sorry, whatever.
It's not like, the way they reacted, I don't want to like exaggerate, but the way they reacted was almost as if like,
the mayor of Winnipeg tweeted about it.
Like the Sharks called them some racial or ethnic. Yeah, there are a bunch of insert racial, ethnic, sexuality slur in there because it's cold. And they're like, no, we just said it's cold there and we live in California. Like, yeah, it's like, hey, I studied geography in the 4th grade. Winnipeg's cold.
And the guy's like, oh, yeah, the hotel we stay at, bad Wi-Fi. Like, yeah, okay, whatever. Like, it's the hotel. It's not an attack on your civic infrastructure. Like,
hey, Marcus, someone once told me Syracuse is really cold, and I was like,
oh, yeah.
Yeah, I went there.
I understand it, though, because anytime people rip Syracuse, I'm like, hey, like, how dare you? Like, But I also... right. But I also get it. But yeah, that was just it was just such a hockey story that it became like it's such a non-story that became a thing. It's perfect on so many levels.
But Marcus, let's get back to focusing. You'd kill Montreal too, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Okay, cool.
No, yeah.
Cool.
The French, like anyone associated with that. I love Claude Julien. Alex Galchenyuk's a great player. Pacioretty's great too. But like none of them could ever be involved in the NHL again because we're killing the franchise. Yeah, that's fine. Like that's fine. That's fine.
Relegated. They're all gonna turn into like Swedish Elite League superstars.
Right, yeah, whatever. Go play over there. Like just,
That's fine.
Stop polluting the NHL. We don't need Mark Bergevin's nonsense anymore. You had a funny Michael Del Zotto story.
I mean, this is not safe for work story at all. I'm gonna give you the sum of the parts. When I was in,
we should talk about why. We should say Michael Del Zotto plays for the Vancouver Canucks. He had a slashing penalty last night against the Sharks.
So Marcus and I started getting a text.
So I texted Connell asking, didn't a porn star block Michael Del Zotto on Twitter or vice versa? And then Connell said, yeah. So continue.
So this a couple years back, Del Zotto used to get in Twitter beefs with people. Del Zotto used to block everybody. And if anybody follows me on Twitter, I'm pretty critical of anybody who plays for the Rangers. But like, I try to be professional. Unless I get really excited, like when they were making their cup run or something like that, like I wouldn't be like, oh, this guy effing sucks, so this guy's a piece of shit or something like that. It would be more like, listen, Girardi made a bad play because he failed to move his feet and he dumped the puck out instead of making a breakout pass when he had Kreider open on the boards. It's more analytical, like trying to be an actual hockey coach, right? So if you go back and look at my tweets about Del Zotto, Del Zotto with a brutal turnover there, has to move his feet to make that pass. Del Zotto missing the net there, 3rd time tonight, has to lean over his shots and keep it lower.
Did you tag him or was he Twitter name search?
Never once did I would never tweet at an athlete. That's just ridiculous. Greg Ackerman, same thing. Karen, he was younger. I think he tweeted at him and got blocked. My brother. He was like 12 when that happened. That's fine. Greg and I both never like tweeted at Del Zotto. We're just like, oh, Del Zotto, another rough night. Like, has to find a way to hit the net, and just his defensive zone coverage needs work, blah, things like that. Blocked us, which means he's searching on Twitter for people being like talking down on him. So the guy seriously, I don't know, confidence issues. I hope he's okay. I don't want to debug any mental illness. I know nothing about Michael Del Zotto. I hope he's okay.
At the time, he was maybe a bit insecure, and he was Twitter searching.
Maybe he was just young and immature. I mean, you know what I mean? Right. He was a stud hockey player. He was a young, good-looking guy in New York, right? He probably had girls all over him. I get it. I'm sure that could go to your head. There's no doubt in my mind. Moral of the story here is that when me and Marcus saw each other in Vegas the 2 days before, I flew out to Phoenix and saw the Rangers in Phoenix. And one of Greg's girlfriend's roommates apparently matched with Del Zotto on Tinder when Del Zotto was playing on the Canucks. I think he was at the time. No. Actually, no, it's when he was on the Flyers still. And matched with him on Tinder and asked him to he was like, hey, what's up? And asked her to come to his room and all this stuff like that. And I'm not going to divulge too much more information because there's a lot more to this story.
Okay, that'll be shared off air, but.
Moral of the story is Michael Del Zotto invited this girl over to his hotel room and then expected things because he was an NHL. Not saying he did anything inappropriate. She didn't say that. He didn't. No sexual assault. No claims like that. But apparently he just was like, I'm a hockey player, so we should get a drink and hook up. And she was like, no. And so he was insulted by that, and apparently went off to his room, was upset about it.
Okay, well, that is a great story. I'm glad we got in some salacious gossip at the end.
Right, because
you got on the we've got one source, that can confirm it, so we feel good running with it. But man, I can't wait to hear the story off air.
Yeah,
I'll take the answer off air, Mike.
Yeah, yeah, I'll hang up and listen. But yeah, folks, trade deadline around the corner. Go watch that Olympic curling. Anything else you want? Anything you want to plug, Marcus? What are you up to these days?
Yeah, follow me on Twitter at Marcus P. White. I link to a lot of my writing there. Writing a bit about the Sharks still. Still going to be doing that. Still going to be tweeting a lot of inane things. Probably tweeting a lot about Syracuse, Tottenham Hotspur, and Star Wars. Anyone who didn't like The Last Jedi is wrong. I can say that on here because Connell and I agree. This is a safe space. We can say that. But yeah, follow me on Twitter. Read my ranting. Follow Connell on Twitter for his great rants about the Rangers. Should we give you a Ranger rant right now, or should we save it? What's
save it.
It has been a while. You got to build back up. It's not
going to be a rant. It's going to be a eulogy.
Oh, okay.
When everybody gets traded, and I'm going to talk about the run that was this past run the Rangers had. So
okay, so Connell will eulogize the next time. Next time we meet, I think the next time we meet will probably be after the trade deadline.
Yeah, we're going to aim for within, I would say, 2 or 3 days after the trade deadline, something within that range.
Our Welsh actor friend, who will remain nameless, will join us off screen, of course.
Yeah.
People familiar with the show will know who that is. But yeah, until then, I'm Marcus. He's Connell. Thanks as always for consuming our hashtag content. Bye.